Okay, but before we begin, I would like to do a commercial. Today's a very special day. Today we start for the 44th time the cycle of Rambam. Today, the 40 years ago, the Rebbe started this special program, this initiative, and it's you could spend the whole class just extolling the benefits and the amazing reasons to be involved in this from his kashrus and from an academic and Torah knowledge perspective and many other ideas. But I'll just suffice that I want to point out and encourage everybody to get on board somehow. You all have chayenus. If you're not able to do a parak a week, which the chayenus have a parak, even do it just in English. Maybe do one law and read the Hebrew, and the rest just read only the English. There's one way you could keep up like that. Do one parak a day. But that's not starting today. There's another thing, even less. They could just keep up with the three called Sefer HaMitzvahs, which they have in the chayenus, I believe, correct? Okay. The chayenus have Sefer HaMitzvahs. That means you're going to just learn a few mitzvahs every day. Maybe a few principles at the beginning. I don't know how they do it the next few days.
Yeah.
But that's trickier. But the rest of the year,
Divided already.
Yeah, the Chayin will have it. You're just going to do a mitzvah or two, sometimes a few mitzvahs, usually one or two, and that's definitely doable for everybody here. And today's a good day to start. You could do it with your Chumash or with your Tanya, connect it to something, a Yom Yom, when you do something else. It's in the Chayin already, and it's very, very special. And it's this kashrus, and it helps your Torah knowledge. You'll get all the mitzvahs, a basic knowledge of it, which the most important thing in our life. That's the commercial. Atkan, the commercial. Now we get to our class. Okay. So we're going to start to discuss today some of the deeper significance of the holiday of Pesach, the meaning and the relevance and how it's personal to us. And my clicker is not responding. So I think you have to get out. Yeah, click on that. Take two. It works? Yeah, okay. So first of all, Jewish holidays in general. What's the correct perspective? So then there's Jackie Mason's take. They tried to kill us. We survived. Let's eat. That's how he tried to sum up everything, which is one way. Is there something to it? But we want to look for something more. The way to look at a Taita Yom Tif is it's like a special opportunity. It's like a special energy that's available at that time. Each one has its own theme, its own power, sometimes multiple ideas. But it's like a time to get that you can access a certain treasure, a spiritual treasure that's available. It's like when you could get a certain ammunition or supplies that you need. These are spiritual supplies. Remember we had the Tishrei before we did the mushroom house analogy? Like in Mario?
Mario class.
Yeah. We had Super Mario Tishrei. So it's like when you go into, it's like an opportunity. You could take something and put it in your storage and you take with you a certain kind of spiritual energy or ammunition that you could use. You don't just need it on Pesach to have some kind of experience on Pesach. It's about taking it with you the rest of the year. And we said every holiday has its theme. So that's what you want to ask yourself. When it comes to a certain holiday, you want to learn. That's why you start learning the Chassidus and the Nigla and everything. The more you can understand and know what it's about, you can connect to it and maximize what you actually take from the holiday. And of course, the way to do it is to do all the mitzvahs and all the customs and all the prayers and all the special things we do on the holiday is how you access the treasure. And you take it with you. But again, it's not about having an experience on the holiday on its own. It's about what you take from the holiday for the rest of the year. Okay? So however you want to compare it, they all bring out the same point, all these illustrations, right? If you want to look at it as a time to fuel up on inspiration in general, to give yourself a boost. It's specific spiritual energies, that's what we're going to focus on. So, what about Pesach? What is the theme of Pesach? how can Pesach make a difference in my life? This is what you want to ask myself. You want to ask yourself. What is the theme of Pesach? What exactly are we celebrating? Which spiritual energy is available, and how do we access it? And in one word, it comes down to liberation, right? Freedom. Pesach is Zman Cheduseinu. We're going to talk in another class the various names for the holiday, but we're going to focus on this specific thing. Pesach is a time of liberation, freedom. Yetzias Mitzrayim. That's what we re-experience. That's what happened the original year, the original Exodus. We got out of Mitzrayim, and this is what we re-experience, and we can connect to this concept every single year in our own lives, in our personally, and hopefully in a macro sense as well. It says the Geula is the ultimate, the final Geula, the Messianic era is going to be the conclusion of Yetzias Mitzrayim in the historical global sense. So this is the deeper theme of Pesach, which we want to try to experience. And who doesn't need this? Who doesn't have areas in their life where they're stuck, where they're trapped, where they can't have to break free, they have to overcome? That's what Pesach is. It has that energy, and it's very, very meaningful and relevant. Wherever you are in your journey, you have your Mitzrayims and your things to deal with. Let's see. First, let's define freedom. This is a quote. It's a famous quote. Let my people go. Right? It became a famous slogan now. But it's only part of it. What's the next word? Shalachet ami. What's the next word? V'yavduni. Let my people go, and they will serve me. They will worship me. They will serve me. Serve me as in servant. What's the freedom exactly of why are we celebrating freedom of Pesach? We were slaves to Pare, and now instead of serving Pare, we have to serve Hashem. It's the same word, Evet. Doesn't sound so nice, but we're serving Hashem now. Well, why do we call it freedom? So to appreciate it, we have to define what's freedom. Let's say you say the violin. It makes nice music, but the strings are very restricted, right? I want to untie the strings. They should not have anything holding them down. They should be totally free. How nice is your music going to be then?
No, that's terrible.
Non-existent, right? So the first thing you have to realize is freedom doesn't just mean like untie, like no, nothing. First thing you have to realize is that sometimes being tied to something, that's how you have freedom. That's how you can actually express who you are, maximize who you are. Same thing with your shoes, right? If you want to say, I want to be free, I want my shoelaces to be free, I might have to time it, right? You'll be tripping all over. He's not going to have freedom.
Dang.
Where's the monkey free? When it's in the tree. Because that's when it could swing around on its vines. It has its banana supply, and it feels free. What about the fish? The fish is free when it's in the water, and it could swim around. If the monkey wants to go put the monkey in the water, how free is the monkey going to feel? Not so free. They can't hold their breath too long, right? And you put the fish in the tree, it's not going to be free. Freedom is not to be unrestricted, unrestrained. Freedom is free to be who you are and to express yourself who you are in the most optimal way, to maximize your own self-actualization. So to define freedom, you have to know who you are. This is what we believe. We have an neshama that wants to be in a relationship with Hashem, and it needs to be. And that's why Torah mitzvahs is the greatest freedom for us. It helps us, it's the equivalent of the monkey being in the tree with its bananas and its food supply. For us to be in a relationship with Hashem is freedom, because that's who we are. And when a Jew doesn't have this, and is not addressing his neshama needs, you're always going to have that stress and that void and that emptiness and that frustration and trying to distract yourself with all different things that are that are, you think that's going to be exciting, but it doesn't really fill it because it's not what you really need. Spoke about that idea with a lot of illustrations, and other times I'm not going to elaborate. So that's the first thing. We're defining freedom. This is a good point. I realize this even more now. Everyone is religious. The only difference is about what? I didn't. Some people, meaning people, they make politics into religion. They make health into religion. They get climate politics, pursuing money and possessions, pursuing pleasures, sport. All these become religions for people. They become not just passionate about it. They become obsessive about it and worship it. They feel that all things you are justified in the pursuit of your agendas, and because of this, and they could mistreat others because they're like infidels, because they don't have the right perspective on this. I'm not talking about in Islam. I'm talking about like, people have the same thing about, you don't care about climate change, maybe you should be killed, or you don't care about this political abortion rights, or this why you maybe should, you don't have a right, you should be taken from you, you should be locked up, you should be, they really create anything. That's the difference. That's what they're just idols instead of of being Hashem, the actual creator, and his agenda, and telling us what's really going to make the world better, and so on. Everyone has something in their life that they bow down for and worship. Most of them are man-made. They're also known as idols. Whether it's like sports and politics, it's all an illusion. The whole value of it, the meaning of it, is we create it, and then we get all excited about it. It's just man-made. It doesn't really have intrinsic value, ultimate value. The Torah, it tells us what the Creator says is actually productive and meaningful and valuable. But you cannot live your life without having something, especially a Jew. Jews are going to get schlepped and involved in any cause, something to find meaning and so on. So Torah helps us transcend our animal body and worship our infinite Creator instead of anything man-made. That's why that's the greatest freedom. That's what your neshama needs and wants, to be like, to not to just be an animal. And that's what makes it happy. So this is the definition of freedom. Being able to serve Hashem. That's why he said, let my people go so that they serve me. Freedom is not just being so we could do free to do whatever you want. That's not freedom. Try to raise a child like that and see what a kind of person it is. It'll be a monster and it will hate you. If parents don't discipline a child and they don't teach him, that there's no's in life and things like that, you're not protecting the child. You're messing the child up.
That's messed up.
Yeah. Okay. Why is Judaism so obsessed with the Exodus? Why is it mentioned so often in our prayers? Why is it mentioned so often in the Torah? You know how many times it's mentioned?
All of it.
Let me see. Before I give the answer. You know how many times we mention it's actually mentioned in the Torah? Take a guess.
13.
Huh?
600.
Louder, what?
13?
No, more. Higher?
58.
Lower?
2,000.
40.
Higher than 40, what?
48.
Higher?
613.
52.
Lower?
613.
50. The 50 gates, the 50 steps of the Omer corresponds to that. Going out of Mitzrayim. It's like 50 levels.
Nun Shari Bina?
Yeah, it's connected to that. 50 times the Torah mentions the Exodus in the 5 books, I think. Just in the first 5 books. I don't know if they counted the whole Tanakh, because the prophets make many, many references and allusions to it. Some of them are very poetic. It's not even openly talking about Mitzrayim.
Rabbi, could you say us, like being in Gullus, is like us being in Mitzrayim?
Of course, absolutely. That's what we're getting at, for sure. That's exactly the answer to this question on this slide. Very good. So, how many times we mention in a week? Probably more than 50.
How many have we mentioned in a day?
Yeah, you could try to count it. Yeah, just go through the davening. And Shema, how many times you just say Shema, and before Shema, and then Az Yashir, and you have it in the prayers, and then Shabbos you have it in Kiddush, and you have it in the davening.
Bring your toes.
It's a lot, yeah. And there's an extra bit of time, right? But you'll count it later. My point is, this must be something really, really major about this. It's not just a story that happened. That's what you see. The Torah's focus on it, and our prayers focus on it, and the mentioning of it. This must be some major, major a meaningful event. Life is really about going out of Mitzrayim. All our struggles, everything in our journey is really a form of going out of Mitzrayim, constantly, again and again. To understand this and appreciate that, we got to define Mitzrayim. What does it mean and what does it represent? Everyone deals with their own personal forms of Mitzrayim, challenges and obstacles. The word Mitzrayim really refers to anything that's stopping you or holding you back from being a better person, a better spouse, a better parent, a better Jew, a better chassid, a better friend. That's your personal Mitzrayim. It could take so many forms, and we'll have examples. Some examples. Sometimes a lack of knowledge, a lack of feeling, a lack of motivation could be somebody's Mitzrayim one day. One day his lack of knowledge in a certain area could be holding him back. He doesn't appreciate something, he doesn't know how to do something. Sometimes there's all different kinds of traumas and things that we went through. Not all of them are so open and recognized. There's all different kinds of insecurities we have in different areas of our lives that could be our Mitzrayim, when anxieties are very related to, and fears and worries that hold us back, and beliefs about ourselves that cause us stress. There's different weaknesses, shame, embarrassment. Sometimes we're embarrassed to do the right thing. That's what holds us back in front of certain people. We're embarrassed what they're going to say. Sometimes we struggle with laziness and waking up, or discipline to go to sleep, lack of confidence in ourselves, different addictions and things we get stuck in. All these are just examples of different forms of Mitzrayim. So tell me life is not about going out of Mitzrayim. We're always trying to get better and fix and do maintenance and monitor and like improving all different areas that we have. And everyone has all the time different days with struggling, sometimes more with this, sometimes more with that. But the answer is constantly, popping up in these different forms. And that's what we're dealing with. Life is going out of Mitzrayim. Sometimes we are our own worst Mitzrayim. These two illustrations is classic. The elephants are mighty. They're the mightiest animals, land mammals that we have. This elephant could rip this rope, this peg and the rope, without even like noticing. If it just pulls a little bit, you could pull it out. And yet in the circuses, that's how they keep it. When they camp for the night, they just put the peg, they knock it in the ground, and the elephant stays for the night. You know why? Because when it was very young, they start training it. When it's a baby elephant, when they set off for the night, they tie one of the feet to a peg, and they stick it in good, and it's not strong enough yet. It's very weak, and it tries to break free. Many times, it realizes when this thing is knocked in, I am stuck. And he waits in the morning, they have to move, they take it out, and he knows he could walk. And he learns that that's how it is. And then later, when it's an adult and it's mighty and strong, it's still, when you stick it in, it doesn't even try anymore. And it just stays there. It's not so intelligent in this respect, but we are also like that. We also sometimes something happened to us once or twice, a few times when we were in a sensitive, impressionable stage in our life. Someone said a comment, someone did this, and then we start to believe things about ourselves that we just can't in certain areas be strong enough, and we're our own Mitzrayim, our own beliefs about ourselves. That these weaknesses I have, and we just stuck with it. And really, Pesach is a time to break free. This other jar is another analogy, very similar concept. You ever heard of circus fleas? Flea circuses, I think they're called. They have like these fleas are the greatest jumpers of all animals that are not counting flying creatures, right? They could jump like 130 times their body size. It's like a football field. If they were a human size, fleas, tiny little bugs, they jump. And for them, like it would be the equivalent of us jumping a whole football field. It's like 130, 150 times. They're really good jumpers.
Have wings.
They jump.
No. They jump. But they train them also. They take like these glass or plastic pipes that are like sort of see-through, and they take them and they make it go. They close it in, and it only could jump like this, back and forth. And there's another one going like this to here, and another one going like this. Like they go around each other, They're even more primitive. These insects, they're like very simple. Their brains, and they do it for a little bit, for like a few days when they're young or something, and then it thinks my life evolves about going from this place. It's a little bit cruel. It just goes like here, and then like this, and like this, and like this, and then they set them all up, and you see a bunch of fleas doing like they take off the cover, and then there's all these fleas just going like this, and like they're not hitting each other, like going right next to each other. And they're all like it's like a whole entertainment circus thing, and they're stuck in this trajectory. They're just going like and this. I have to go like this and land, and go back like this and land, and they get stuck. And there's no more tube anymore around them, but they're stuck in Mitzrayim. They think that this is the way I have to do things. This is the way I have to respond to things. This is how it is. And we could be our own worst Mitzrayim. Okay. All growth and improvement in becoming a better person, right? Better spouse, better parent, better Jew, a better chassid, is your personal Yeshiva Mitzrayim. This is what we mean when we say life is about Yeshiva Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt. We all are dealing with all different kinds of Mitzrayim, and we're constantly trying to go out and to break free. And any kind of growth, any little growth is a form of Yetzias Mitzrayim. What's the worst form of Mitzrayim and why? I'll give you a hint. We met him in the Amalek class. It's ego.
Goyim?
Ego. An unhealthy obsession with yourself.
Got it wrong.
With yourself. What's in it for me? What will people think of me, right? Why are things not going my way? These are all examples of what I mean by unhealthy obsession with this. These are all signs of unhealthy ego. The Rambam brings, not actually, but I will bring a little Rambam. The Yesh Desh Aslan Adam Linig Ben Bevenis Eli Staching Min Akatsa Echad Akatsa Ach. General, the Rambam presents his guidance, the Torah's guidance, that you have to be not extreme. Extreme, fanatic is never good. Generally not good. You want to be balanced, not too crazy, spending like crazy and not saving like crazy. You want to spend equally, not eating like crazy and not starving yourself like that. Be in all things, you want to be in the middle. But when it comes to one thing, one or two exceptions he brings. One of them is this. Goy Valev. One of the things you want to have, you should be extreme, is to avoid, is arrogance. Shouldn't just be not arrogant, but you should be extreme away from it. Because, okay, first we have this slide. I love this slide. I bring it all the time. I bring it all the time. It's one of my favorites. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's not thinking low or bad about yourself. It's just thinking of yourself less, not thinking about yourself. What are people thinking of me? What are going to be for me? That it's just you don't have to do that. If you're helping with yourself, you could be there for others because you don't need to take care of yourself, like focus on yourself. Let me go back. I want to say the reason is maybe it'll be brought in a later slide, but because this is the opposite. This does not allow Hashem into your life. When you're obsessed with yourself, you cannot allow not another person, not Hashem. You're stuck. Your own ego takes up your whole focus, your whole mind. Okay. Ego causes so much problems. Or any worries because you think you're in control. All frustration, all anger, resentment, getting insulted. And worst of all, it makes it so difficult to accept criticism. These are all symptoms of obsessing with yourself. Defensive, deflecting, counterattacking, and blaming. Anything but you can't acknowledge your weakness, because then it's going to puncture your ego, your inflated sense of self that you're trying to create to compensate for your insecure sense of self. So Pesach, we could do ego healing. We can learn to accept ourselves and appreciate our value. We don't have to do any of that shit. And then you could surrender realize that, to Hashem running the world, you don't have to do any, you won't have, the more you could do that, the less worries you're going to have, frustration. It doesn't have to go your way. It's not about you. You're not in charge. You're not in control. And that's okay. You're okay with that. You don't get angry. These are all things when you think, when you have to go your way and this, right? Okay. I found some charts here. Arrogance, fault proof, doesn't listen, interrupts, wants to be right. All these I found online, but I think it goes good with the points of Chassidus that I'm saying. So let's see, let me make sure. Doesn't see differently, pushes point through, shows frustration, avoids accountability, creates a fear culture. Admits mistakes, listens to understand. Yeah, arrogance doesn't let you really listen to someone. You just want to get in with you can't wait to share your thing, even if you have basic decency and you'll wait when you're just focusing on what you're going to respond. Because you want when you get to share your point, it's all about you could try to get people to impress people and so on. Humility listens to understand. You don't have that agenda. You can actually be present and listen to someone else. Interrupts, gives space respectfully, right? Wants to be right, you're open mind. If you have arrogance, you can't handle being wrong. You can't, I'm always right? But in humility, you could really, there's probably you could open yourself to hear other perspectives and actually realize that they're valid and so on. Embraces differences, allows ideas to emerge. They're very similar, related. Another thing, very similar idea. All these are Mitzrayim, classic ego-related Mitzrayim. I can't do it. I'm not worthy. I must be perfect. That's a big one. That's all or nothing thing is a big Mitzrayim. It's a classic Mitzrayim. I should make slides just of that. Pick some classic ones.
What does it say, all or nothing?
I must be perfect. It's another way of saying it. That thing that it's either all or nothing is a big Mitzrayim, and it makes people okay, the davening is not going good already, or this learning today already started. Anytime something goes a little wrong, to just sabotage yourself is a big common classic Mitzrayim. I think that one deserves its own slide, just for bringing about a little bit. Right, I must not make a mistake. I'm not good enough. Nobody, okay, I'm not lovable. People really know me. They wouldn't like me. They wouldn't. All these things are Mitzrayims that come from ego, from being self-obsessed in an unhealthy way, and not really feeling your value and so on. So let's see what I put here. You see yourself as inferior to others, afraid of feedback, criticism, constantly crave affirmation from others, people pleaser, social slave, afraid to express. These are all low self-esteem, unhealthy. Afraid to express your displeasure because of people. You can't take up an opinion. You have no backbone either. Focus on your weakness and belittle your strength. Constantly compare yourself with others. Also very unhealthy. Secretly crave the spotlight but reject it openly. Okay, it's chitzon basically. It's called in Chassidus a chitzon. Everything's about others, right? Humility is this is bittul. You don't see yourself as superior to others. Receptive to feedback, you really don't judge. Even if people do things, you don't know this, you don't judge. Receptive to feedback and criticism, you appreciate it genuinely. No craving for affirmation from others. You're not desperate for your value based on other people's validation. No people pleasing and social slavery. Express your displeasure without tearing down. You could share things, but don't have to attack the people. Acknowledge your weakness and appreciate your strength. Have no need to compare yourself with others. The only one you want to compare yourself was with yourself yesterday. And even that only in a healthy way, if it's helpful. Do not create this balance secretly or openly, because you don't need it. You're happy with who you are. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Sure.
A lot of these things are more internal, mental, yeah. But what if a person, let's say, is going through, let's say, a health issue, and that's holding him back from something that he can't serve Hashem, like he wants to.
What was the first point you said? What was your first point? It's real mental issues, and also could be real health issues. Okay, so I'll say short two points about that. First of all, sometimes part of your journey in Yetzias Mitzrayim, it is necessary for people to really do counseling and therapy. These days, it's very, very common and normal. We're dealing with a lot of stuff at the end of Gullus. It's very, very normal. and common and beneficial for many, many people to have some kind of coach or account. Not mashpim are not always trained in these things, but sometimes it is they have bad patterns of thoughts. Usually it's not so long term, but they have to recognize it and to learn how to get past it. And sometimes that is necessary. That is that's true. That could be the Mitzvah's trying to break free from that. There's a stigma or the fear of these things. Oh, if I need some kind of help, that means I'm incompetent. No, it's sometimes that is the Mitzrayim. That concern and that kind of thinking. And also about the other point that there's a big difference between pain and suffering. The pain is real and happens in life. We mentioned in the Simcha workshops we had. Suffering is already interpretation. And that also sometimes you could need help. And Chassidus can help, or sometimes a mashpia or a coach or something could help to how to interpret things and how it affects your mood. There are things that are real, but there are people, the Rebbe wrote the letter, there are people in Auschwitz who woke up in the morning, they said morning brachas, and they meant it, and they were able to feel grateful and gratitude, even though they were literally in hell on earth. And then there are people who were like living better than 99.999% of people in history, basically anyone living with running water and electricity and food and enough food for a few days in your pantry, and you're living better off than 99.99 people have ever lived in history, and they have family and they have and they have so much, and they have a marriage and everything, and they're still fetching because like humming a little bit. But this is not going my way, and they get fixated on that, and it ruins everything. It's all worthless to, right? It's a lot that has to do with already. Chassidus can help you with how you focus on that. But yeah, it's
Probably also the opposite is also ego. Say I'm deserving of everything. Everyone should love me. Like in an unhealthy way.
It depends how you focusing on yourself is ego. Obsessing on yourself is ego. Just when you feel lovable in a healthy way, you don't focus on people should be loving me. You just feel lovable. So you don't have to obsess with that. You don't have to do anything in that direction either. And you should feel every Jew is gold. That's the Nun Beis Truma, that every Jew is valuable and precious and loved by Hashem in a crazy way,
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like someone should go around and be like, "Oh, you don't love me. You should love me because I'm the best."
But that's obsessing with yourself. That's absolutely ego.
It's still true.
That's absolutely ego. Yeah, because remember that slide I keep bringing. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. Stop thinking about yourself. If you're healthy, you could talk about how you could show love to others, make others feel loved. Who could do that? Someone who just feels loved. So he doesn't have to focus on filling up his own tank, and he could fill up other people's tank. This is expressed in the words and the food. Let's steer back to Pesach. Chametz and matzah, the words and the food, connected to this idea of ego and gaiva and arrogance. So matzah they have the same letters, but it has a hey and this has a ches. The hey represents the opening on the top, and the ches is closed. It's the only difference between them. Let me explain. Remember we said the worst part of the ego is that it doesn't let you take criticism, which makes it so hard to escape. Makes you're always deflecting and counterattacking. You're not strong enough. You don't have the strength to handle that you might be wrong and you have to be corrected, right? That's a sign of very big weakness and ego. So matzah has that ability. You could climb out. This gets stuck. It's only facing downwards for that reason. It's also illustrated in actual foods. This and this have the same flour, the same water. How come this is so big and puffy and this is so flat? Because it's a hot air. It's just a false ego. It's a false inflated sense of self. This is what the chametz represents. It's just a false inflated sense of importance and value, and because it doesn't feel the way happy the way it is. They're constantly trying to show off and brag and get people to respect. Because you're obsessed with that because you don't really feel your inner value. Usually, a lot of times it comes with, again, it's not always our fault. Sometimes people hear a lot of critical things. They have parents or teachers who don't know better, and they sometimes criticize people too much in the wrong way, in the wrong time, You could criticize the person, you could criticize the behavior. When you have to be careful when you criticize a child, not to make them feel bad, but they are amazing, they're special, and their value doesn't change. But what they did was the wrong choice. But if parents or teachers do this wrongly to a sensitive child, he starts to internalize the message that he is bad and he is wrong. Then he could struggle with this the rest of his life, has to compensate, trying to get people to validate him in this. So again, usually parents and teachers mean well. They think, oh, discipline and criticism, and it's not easy. It's not natural, especially if you had people not conscious about it in your own life. So you have to start recognizing it. Again, you want to never like shame the person, devalue the person. Say you're an amazing person like you. Why you doing something like this? You probably don't realize how it's affecting others or how it's affecting you. That should be the attitude and criticism. Then the child won't grow up struggling with their own value and acceptance. But many people, they're walking around thinking, people really know me. They wouldn't like me because they feel that I'm not really likable, and so that's this overinflated sense of self. Okay, we mentioned this yesterday's class as well. This is why another reason why chametz, we have such extreme chumash are connected to Pesach stringencies. The two ideas. First of all, because the chametz represents ego and during the foundation stage, which is Pesach, has to be extremely prohibited. We'll discuss maybe another class why the rest of the year it's fine. Chametz is not a problem. If it represents such an evil, such a serious Mitzrayim, we're gonna discuss it in another class. Bli neder. We also compared it to like a child, like a little tree. Everything's so sensitive what you do to it. That's why Pesach is that. It's another idea why things are so stringent. Okay, this idea.
There's some real hate on Allah.
So Pesach is the time when the Yidden were born. It's like the Yidden.
Yes, the Leidas Am Yisrael. That's what the Navid Haftarah mentions that. And let's end off with this point. Yetzias Mitzrayim. Let me just end off with this thing. What can we learn from the splitting of the sea about our own personal growth? There's so many insights in the splitting of the sea, but one thing connected to what we're saying, that life is about Yetzias Mitzrayim. What was the splitting of the sea? That was a week after they left Mitzrayim. What happened? They were chased after that. They were pursued by the Egyptians, and they got trapped by the same Egyptians. You know what this tells us? When you're doing your own Yetzias Mitzrayim, and all those examples we mentioned, don't expect it to be smooth sailing. Everything in the Torah happens in our lives. Very often, a few days later, you're going to feel like that challenge came right back and is schlepping you down again, and you're trapped, and you see there's no escape. That's when you really break out of Mitzrayim. That's when they totally got out of Mitzrayim. When they faced them down, and they didn't give up, and then that's when they actually had it. So don't expect to happen always necessarily in one stage, one decision. I'm now no longer going to be a slave to this. No longer going to be a slave to the phone. No longer be a slave to this food. No longer be a slave to this activity or this inappropriate behavior or words or I'm going to try to break free from this Mitzrayim. But anyway, it's not only a Pesach thing. Pesach is a special energy of it. That we really, really, could break free in a special, powerful way. But like we said, our whole life is Yetzias Mitzrayim. Let's recap. I made a review slide of all the different points we had in this class, and then we'll do halacha. Okay? We define Yetzias Mitzrayim, the correct perspective on Jewish holidays. What is the theme of Pesach? Help me out. What is the Jewish holidays? Answer question 1. No, what is the definition? How did the Torah perspective?
Spiritual recharging.
It's not just something that happened, we talk about. No, it's something to re-experience, to get a certain kind of spiritual energy. What is the theme of Pesach? Which is the energy of Pesach? Liberation, freedom. Yetzias Mitzrayim. Personal. To find true freedom.
Serving Hashem.
Who you are. To be who you are. Like the monkey in the tree, the fish in the water, me in yeshiva now. Or me with Torah mitzvahs, right?
Rabbi, my best friend.
Well, let's finish the review. What does Mitzrayim mean? Represent? Examples? What does Mitzrayim mean to represent?
Personal.
It means
personal limitation.
I can't believe I missed it. I didn't put a slide about it. The actual translation of Mitzrayim means boundaries, obstruction, obstacles, border. Meitzar is a fence, is a border, right? Build that wall. That's what the break down the wall, right? Okay. What is the worst form of Mitzrayim? We said that Pesach focuses on ego. That's why Chametz represents ego, becomes the obsession on Pesach. In a good way, to get rid of it, to help us. It represents this ego that we do on ourselves. Okay, what does Chametz represent? How do we see this?
Ego.
The worst form of Mitzrayim, ego. How do we see it in the word and in the physical, the inflated sense of self? Right? Why do we find so many centuries of Pesach? Two answers. So we said because it represents ego, and it's so severely detrimental. And this is the time of the year to focus on getting a healthy ego, and
Like Rambam says,
and also
you're clean.
right, and Pesach exactly, and Pesach is also like the birth, which is when we're like the child, at this super sensitive time. We're very impressionable, very delicate. That's when you want to be extra cautious. Okay, what is the measure of the splitting of the sea? That when you're going out of Mitzrayim, don't expect cruise, smooth sailing. It's very normal that you go and then you have setbacks. What do they call it? Relapses, right? And then it chases after you, and you think you're more trapped. As long as you're going out of Mitzrayim, you're fighting, and you're going overall away. That's life. That's growing spiritually.
Maybe
That's when you really
threw and then turned around and came back in the same thing.
never give up, because things pursue you. The challenges that you're trying to cure, they pursue you, and it looks like even worse now. Don't give up. That's your chance to really break free from Mitzrayim. And that's how you should expect it. It's not this black and white, turn on a switch and you go to the next Mitzrayim. By the way, yesterday's freedom could be today's Mitzrayim. It could have been a big deal for you to break out of coming to time to Chassidus. But for a while, maybe now the next step is to come early to Chassidus. Who knows? I'm just giving an example. You could become your Mitzrayim you could always have to be growing. Okay.
Is that what he said? He said that's why we went back to the same way as Mitzrayim. Is that connected?
That was a raincoat chick.
Or Gavinsky?
No, that's why I said after they ran out of Mitzrayim, they escaped. A week later, they were chased by the Egyptians, and it looked like it was.
But by the splitting of the sea,
in the end, they ended up seeing all the Egyptians dead.
They went back the same way.
Which psychologically helped them really get out of Mitzrayim.
They only need Kriyas Yam Suf.
That's another concept. That's another concept. I don't know if that brings out this idea. How do you see
They
it?
came on the same side, right?
Yeah,
I know.
They came right because they went out. They went in Kriyas Yam Suf. Then they split. They split the sea. And then they came.
Back to Mitzrayim, you got to go back out again.
It wasn't about no. My point was that Mitzrayim chased them, and they felt trapped again. But that was the time when they actually faced it and overcame it even more than before. And that's when they really psychologically and spiritually went out of Mitzrayim. And that's why you'll see the Gemara Saita even refers to Kriyas Yamsuf as that's the Tzias Mitzrayim. The main Tzias Mitzrayim was by Kriyas Yamsuf. You can see the first page of Saita. It sort of says that. We're gonna start the first day of Pesach, second day of Pesach. Yes, Hashem. Okay, let's do halacha.